The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark's season-ending injury is nothing short of catastrophic for the WNBA, a nightmare that even the league's most optimistic voices can no longer spin into hope. For weeks, rumors swirled, whispers filled forums, and speculation kept fans clinging to the possibility that Clark would return just in time to rescue the Indiana Fever and perhaps even salvage the playoffs. But then came the announcement, short and devastating, directly from Clark herself. She will not return this season. 13 games, a groin injury suffered in July, and a comeback that never materialized. With one sentence, the golden goose of women's basketball shut the door on 2025, and in doing so, exposed the league's fragility for the world to see. From the beginning, the handling of Clark's injury felt like a calculated smokescreen. The Fever never gave a clear timetable. Executives avoided specifics. Fans were led to believe she might reappear at any moment, keeping them glued to broadcasts, buying tickets, and holding out hope that the star who transformed arenas into temples of anticipation would soon rise again. But now that the truth is out, that illusion has shattered, leaving fans feeling misled and the league looking desperate. And the timing, ironically revealed on the same day football season kicked off, felt like the cruelest twist of all, as if the WNBA itself was trying to bury the bad news under a tidal wave of NFL headlines. The reality, however, can't be buried. Ratings are in free fall, and they're not just dipping, they're plummeting off a cliff. Ticket sales are evaporating, leaving empty seats across the league, and what was supposed to be the WNBA's great growth era is suddenly being exposed as a fragile mirage built almost entirely on the back of one player. Indiana was the anchor, the epicenter, the heartbeat of this new wave. With Clark gone, that anchor has been ripped away, leaving the rest of the league to sink like a ship taking on water. Clark's message was heartfelt, sincere, and painful to read. She admitted that hours of rehab, long gym sessions, and tireless effort couldn't bring her back in time. Disappointment, she said, wasn't even a strong enough word to describe her emotions. She thanked the fans, the ones who followed her, every step, and filled arenas not just to support the Fever, but to bask in her presence. She said their loyalty brought her joy and perspective, even in the middle of frustration. But behind her words was the weight of a truth no one could ignore. The league's most important player, the one who defined its identity, was gone. And without her, the facade of stability was collapsing. The numbers paint the story with brutal clarity. With Clark on the court, Indiana's games averaged an astonishing 1.26 million viewers, a number most professional leagues would envy. But when she went down on July 15th, those numbers cratered to 400,000 per broadcast, a devastating 70% collapse. That was during the period when fans still held on to hope of her return. Now that she's officially shut the door, that cliff has widened into a canyon. This isn't just a setback, it's an existential crisis. Without Clark, the WNBA feels hollow. Games that once buzzed with energy now resemble scrimmages. Playoffs that were supposed to be headline events risk fading into obscurity, overshadowed not just by the NFL, but by the sense that the biggest draw is missing. When Clark was active, she wasn't just lifting Indiana, she was holding up the entire league. Without her, what remains feels eerily close to what existed before she arrived, a niche product, beloved by a small core but ignored by the wider sports world. The irony is staggering. For years, the WNBA fought for relevance, begging for media attention, scrambling for sponsorships and leaning on forced narratives that rarely caught fire. Then came Clark, a phenomenon unlike anything the league had ever seen. She wasn't just a great player, she was a cultural moment, a force that pulled millions of casual fans into the orbit of women's basketball. Suddenly, networks like ESPN and ABC prioritized coverage. Suddenly, corporate sponsors wanted in. Suddenly, the WNBA felt like it had cracked the code to mainstream relevance. But that entire revolution was built on the shoulders of one rookie. And now, those shoulders are gone. Economists estimated her impact could reach $1 billion in a single season, stretching far beyond ticket sales and into merchandise, tourism, and broadcast contracts. She was selling jerseys faster than Nike could, print them, filling NBA-sized arenas, and generating headlines that dwarfed anything her peers could muster. In fact, her cultural gravity was so immense that many new fans admitted they hadn't even known the WNBA existed until Clark arrived. That wasn't just growth, it was rebirth. And now, with her out, that rebirth risks becoming a stillbirth, leaving the league scrambling to convince anyone it matters without her. But here's where the tragedy deepens. Clark's injury wasn't just bad luck, it was preventable. She endured relentless targeting throughout her rookie year and into this season. Elbows, cheap shots, flagrant fouls, all delivered by opponents more eager to humble her than to elevate themselves. The stats don't lie. 17% of all flagrant fouls this season were committed against her alone. That's not coincidence, that's a strategy. A league that should have been protecting its biggest star instead allowed her to be hammered game after game, with referees under Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's watch swallowing whistles and ignoring blatant abuse. The result is what we see now, the league's golden ticket sidelined, and with her absence, the WNBA's foundation cracking. Fans feel betrayed. They paid premium prices for games where Clark was dangled as a possibility. Tickets resold at sky-high prices, only to collapse when news broke she wouldn't play. In Washington, the Mystics even moved a game to a larger venue in Baltimore, to accommodate the Clark effect. When she couldn't suit up, tickets dropped to $1, a humiliation that revealed just how shallow the league's broader appeal really is. And it wasn't just fans who were misled. Sponsors invested under the assumption Clark would headline, networks built schedules around her, and rival franchises gambled their biggest games on her drawing power. Without her, they're left scrambling, staring at arenas that feel empty and broadcasts that feel irrelevant. This is the nightmare Engelbert never wanted to face. For months, she insisted the WNBA was bigger than one player. She spun narratives about rivalries, about depth, about parity. But Clark's announcement obliterated that claim in one fell swoop. Without her, the league has collapsed back to silence. Sports talk shows aren't covering it. Major networks aren't discussing it. Even commentators like Colin Cowherd openly admit they stopped covering the league once Clark disappeared. It's a brutal but undeniable truth. Clark wasn't just the WNBA's brightest star.